Hi, class. Um, so, our question of the week is to identify one social, economic, or environmental justice issue in rural communities. Well, I'm going to talk about probably the one issue that bugs me the most, and it is in the economic realm. And it is the income inequality and lack of good jobs in the area uh, in rural communities. That is the number one thing that irks me the most. Um, Seeing it firsthand, is much more. It takes a much harder hit on you than just reading about it in the book. And I'm sure most of us have seen it firsthand or know somebody who is living it. I mean, we probably all lived it. There is there is no there's hardly any good jobs left in rural communities. And when I say rural communities, I'm mostly speaking about the one that we're living in, Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia. Um, and even though a lot of people think about coal, um, and that's kind of a stereotypical thing to think about when it comes to this area, but it's true. Coal has long been this region's employment, but even so, it was dangerous, low paying. People got hurt all the time. Um, Long shifts. You know, um, People were, as Tennessee Ernie Ford puts it, they owed their souls to the company store. The whole system was rigged against them, and that's largely still the same today. Just it's taking a little bit of a different approach. Um, in a book, it says that in 2016, as cited in the book, the average income for rural people is 4% lower than that for those who live in cities. Now that was in 2016. I cited in our book, and I would imagine that today that is even higher, probably by a large margin. Is probably higher. Uh, it makes me think about. I heard it in a song, another song, or somebody said that during the Great Depression of the 30s or whatever it was, yeah, 30s. That the people in the Appalachian area didn't even know that there was a depression because their lives were the same before and during. Um, and of course, in urban areas, that was not the case. People was hit hard, but in rural areas, it was mostly just life as it always has been. And I see that happening still. It's been almost 100 years ago, and we're still fighting it. And I fear that we are headed for another depression rather quickly. So we all better be prepared for that. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I do believe that that's probably in the works. And we are going to be in a lot worse shape this time in rural areas than we were then because back then most families lived on farms. They were able to grow their own food. They were able to, they knew how to do it. They knew how to live without our modern day conveniences. They were survivors. Uh, and today we just don't have that. I mean, in one passage in the book, it was talking about, and this was in 2017, as cited in the book, that as many as 97% of chicken farmers are now essentially contract employees working for large corporations. So the old school chicken farmers are no longer a thing. They're all working for large corporations, and that's scary. And especially if you know what's going on right now, and with the prices of eggs, the prices of all um, foods, but eggs specifically, and it's scary. Even it says in here in the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2018, employment in the mining and logging sectors has also declined during the past 10 years. And as it's also talked about, and as some others talked about, that's dangerous work. It's backbreaking, literally backbreaking work. And but that was all that there was. You either farmed or you mined. And today, most people don't farm. I mean, they may have a few chickens or a few cows or pigs or have a little garden, but family farms aren't really a thing anymore. Um, and manufacturing, as we all know, has took a huge hit over the past 20, 30 years, and I'm not sure why. That's outside of my realm of knowledge. But of course, everybody says all the manufacturing jobs goes overseas, and there's probably lots of reasons for that. It's probably cheaper to pay manufacturing costs over there than it is over here. So what are you gonna do? There should be some laws against that. I'm not sure there should be. Um, but I look at the whole issue, not just with environmental, but economic and social. I look at all of it, and the question is asked, what would we do to fix it? And I'm just gonna be honest. I don't see a solution. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think anybody does, and that's kind of scary. Um, I think anybody who pretends that they know what they would do or how to fix it is probably lying to themselves and to others. I think it's okay to say I don't know. I do see that most of all of the issues, and especially economic issues, that it all boils down to da 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 money. So people just don't have enough money, um, and they're not, and the money that they do get, they're breaking their backs for. Uh, so I see a huge systemic issue there with when it comes to money, and without trying to get too deep into to it, I think that money is the root cause of all these issues. If I had my ways, I'd find a way to for us to become a moneyless society, and I do believe that that's possible at some point in the future. But right now, we're just not there yet. I don't know what that would look like, but I do know that that is uh, where we need to be in a society. I don't know how we could pull that off, but that's what needs to happen. Because if I had to guess, I would say 90% more of all of human struggles and suffering it boils down to money. So what is one way that I can see to kind of fix this today? At least on the path to that is probably a UBI, a universal basic income, for everyone, not just in rural areas, but for everyone's, but especially in rural areas. Uh, I think that that would be a step forward in becoming a moneyless society. And fix a lot of problems. But again, that it also there's so many issues that can come up with that I can spend another 10, 20 minutes talking about. And people in rural areas may not even like the idea of a universal basic income that could be considered socialism to them. And rightfully so. Where would that money come from? It's going to come from the government. Where's the government going to get the money to give to everyone? So it's a vicious cycle. And and speaking about vicious cycles, it also says in the book, uh, there's another passage. It says less money in local economies translates into less tax revenue, reduction in income available for housing and healthcare, which is a whole other topic, and fewer discretionary purchases, which again leads on a cycle um, that just causes nothing but struggles. Which also, as the book says, it can play out in terms of alcohol, substance, and opioid use, which we all know Southwest Virginia and the Appalachian area is awful for its opioid abuse. Family violence, health, mental health issues, delinquency, and crime, which again gets the ball rolling to have more economic issues that we are not addressing, and it's a snowball effect. It's a snowball effect. It's getting worse and worse and worse, and we're trying to fix it, and we are only making the problem worse. So, and again, I think it all boils down to money. Um, so find a way to get money out of the way for all of us, and maybe we would start to see our lives become better. Again, I don't know what that would look like. I do know it's possible. I know it's possible. But uh, trying not to get too deep, but I think looking at all these things, and I'm not the only one who doesn't see an answer to these issues. I see that we're stuck collectively, um, and we can't dig ourselves out of the mess that we are in. You know, as I read this chapter, it's just problem after problem after problem, and it compounds itself. And I don't see how we can, as a collective society, pull ourselves out of it. We can't pull ourselves up by our bootstrings. So I think that that's where the idea of humanity needing a savior um, comes in. Um, I don't see how we could get by without one eventually. So again, I guess a universal basic income and some other uh, band aids uh, until that day that maybe something does come and save us. Y'all have a blessed week. Thank you.